Here's the truth that energy healers and hypnosis facilitators won't tell you, and why these techniques actually fracture your consciousness. Everything you know about energy healing and hypnosis is dead wrong. And here's what I learned after speaking with over 1,000 hypnosis facilitators, healers, and clients. 9 times out of 10, hypnosis and healing modalities create more fractures in the subconscious, and most people don't see lasting results. I've personally interviewed over 1,000 hypnosis facilitators, healers, and their clients over the last 3 years, and I'm going to tell you everything that the hypnosis practitioners and training programs are too scared to say. I'm going to focus on hypnosis in this video, but what I'm about to share also applies to just about every other healing modality as well. While hypnosis and healing techniques, like some of the more famous quantum hypnosis methods, can have some level of success for some people, that success is a rarity, not the norm. Now, I won't be naming any specific methods because I'm not here to attack any one method or group of people either. I'm here to shed some light on a problem that the community is struggling with, but everyone is too afraid to have an honest discussion about. I'm not here to make anyone the bad guy, and I believe that the creators and facilitators of these techniques have really good intentions, and they truly want to help people. So I'm going to speak as plainly as I can about what is happening and why. Here's where hypnosis and most healing modalities fall short, and why these techniques and training programs fail both the facilitators and their clients. What most facilitators or healing and hypnosis training programs won't tell you is that only 1 in 10 clients are able to make a real connection in a session and create lasting positive changes. And a whopping 9 out of 10 clients either don't see a shift at all, or if they do, it's only temporary. The issues either come back worse or present again later in a different way. Facilitators who do get some results often find themselves having to intuitively adapt the method they were trained in just to navigate the sessions with their clients, often needing to deviate from its procedures, completely going against the rules of the method, risking their certifications just to make it work. This is true across every hypnosis-based method I've encountered, and also several other healing modalities. If you haven't seen me before, I'm Aaron, and I work with healers, coaches, and facilitators to help them refine the results they get with their clients while building a thriving healing or coaching business. I've been embedded in the healing community for over 7 years. My work has focused on developing an entirely new integrative framework that I channeled from the Pleiadians. Through my work, I've personally spoken to over 1,000 hypnosis practitioners across dozens of hypnosis methods and countless more healers and coaches. In the privacy of confidential one-on-one coaching sessions, every single hypnosis facilitator has shared the same struggle. Only 1 in 10 clients actually connects to their subconscious or communicates with their higher self. And only 1 in 10 clients actually sees lasting, permanent results. Now, facilitators don't or can't talk about this openly for a few reasons. The first is that they might not be fully aware of what's happening because they don't have enough experience to notice the lack of coherence in a session. This is usually because they've never actually had a client that makes a full connection, so they don't know what to look for. Until they finally get that one client who is super integrated with their consciousness and who does connect, and then they start to see the pattern. The second reason is one of the most common. Most facilitators only do once-off sessions, so they don't know what's happening. Since they aren't working with clients long-term, they only see the effects of the temporary band-aid, and they don't get to see the results unravel over the next 3 to 12 months. And when it does unravel, the client usually doesn't come back to tell the facilitator. They just move on, chasing another round of healing with another practitioner or a different method. If the client does come back and does tell the facilitator, the issue is often presenting slightly differently, enough that the facilitator sees it as the next layer of the onion to heal and just prescribes another session, either because that's good for business or because they aren't able to see a big enough picture to notice that it's the same elephant wearing different clothes. But I'll explain more on that in a bit. If the facilitator is aware that the work isn't lasting, there's a third reason that they can't talk about it. Most facilitators are afraid that their peers or training programs will simply write them off as bad facilitators, even if they're very skilled. Or they're afraid it will undermine the legitimacy of their work and hurt their business. Or worse, if they do bring it up, they get silenced by the community or their trainers. And I'll talk more about that in a moment too. For most of the facilitators I've spoken to, it's a bit of all of those. But I can't blame the facilitators alone here. They have super good intentions. It's the training programs and the core issues with the approach of hypnosis and most healing modalities that is failing them. Most facilitators also share how they didn't feel fully confident or prepared to work with clients after completing their certifications or training programs, and they lack a full understanding of the mind, consciousness, or spiritual integration practices necessary to handle many of the sensitive situations that often arise when working with clients in this capacity. They're tossed into real-life situations without fully developing their inner guidance system to navigate the complexities of consciousness. But that's just the facilitators' half of it. The trainers and certification programs won't talk about this openly either, and here's why. Sometimes they just don't know that the facilitators are struggling because everyone is afraid to speak up. But more often than not, they know that clients aren't getting results, but it would simply be really bad for business to address it in any meaningful way. And the latter is the case for several well-established, famous methodologies. Facilitators who have asked for help have been shunned by the community or their trainers. Or worse, some have even been silenced with legal threats, gag orders, and defamation lawsuits for telling their story on the subject. Okay, now that you know the secret that most healers and hypnosis facilitators can't tell you, let's talk about the solution. I'll break this down into the stages of how consciousness builds its structure, starts the healing process, and then where it gets stuck and how you can create a shift into freedom and results that last. I'm going to put this into the simplest terms that I can so that everyone can understand this, even if you don't have a background in hypnosis, neuroscience, or consciousness. Stage 1 is when the brain is in the hypnosis brainwave state for roughly the first 7 years of your life, which essentially means it's in a passive state, receiving programming based on your experience. This builds the initial construct of reality and the subconscious mind that most people operate on for the rest of their life. Then, on and off throughout life, your brain will re-enter a receptive brainwave state where it continues to receive programs through your experience. Now, highly traumatic experiences tend to open that receptive state of mind up to extreme levels, dumping a whole lot of shit into the subconscious. However, this also happens normally throughout life at a lesser scale, even without trauma. But the core framework of how consciousness and the subconscious mind operates is created in those first 7 years of life, give or take, while the mind is naturally in a hypnosis brainwave state. This is an important and necessary phase for the consciousness of each person to integrate with their reality and to learn what is needed to live in and sometimes survive their environment. Stage 2 is when the person grows up and eventually realizes that some of those patterns and subconscious frameworks that were embedded during childhood or other life experiences simply aren't serving them well anymore, and they want to change. This is a beautiful moment of self-awareness. It's often triggered by a catalyst that usually fuels a well-intentioned desire to grow, to become a better person, or to expand to their highest potential. And stage 3 is the entrance of hypnosis and healing techniques, with their promise of reprogramming the subconscious mind to fix and heal everything. But here's the issue. The way most people view hypnosis and healing, and the way most practitioners are trained in hypnosis techniques or healing modalities, basically looks like adding new programs to the subconscious, attempting to overwrite or reprogram the old negative programs that were created in childhood or previous life experiences. And this can work for some people, but for 9 out of 10 people, the old program refuses to let them access a great enough state of allowance for this to stick. And facilitators aren't trained in mapping or integrating consciousness structures. So they go into a session, they learn a few things about the old program, perhaps uncovering the story of how it got there, reliving the trauma point, and maybe activating an emotional release. Then they attempt to build a new program on top of the old structure. But that's like trying to build a new house on an old foundation. It just doesn't last. The old program still runs, it just becomes masked for a while. In the moment, this can often look like results. Something feels different. The old foundation got a new coat of paint, and the client reports feeling better for a time. But there's 2 core issues here. The first is that if it forces consciousness to relive the trauma, it creates a compound fracture, recreating the fracture again, spreading out the pain of the original trauma into 2 places instead of resolving the original origin point. The second issue is that the subconscious is clever. It will often create a misleading origin story for how the program got there as a defensive mechanism to avoid getting overwritten. Most facilitators have no idea how to tell if a client is in an actual neutral theta brainwave state, channeling the truth about the program, or if they're in an inventive beta brainwave state, channeling a defensive storyline. Most clients are never fully prepared for the integration, so the program being overwritten doesn't understand what's being done, and it fights back, keeping them in a beta brainwave state. The subconscious is also really clever enough to use this brainwave state to make it appear like they're channeling their higher self. Facilitators are often fooled by this, thinking the session went perfect, even though it was just a mask created by a clever subconscious program. This gets into a whole different aspect of this work, where things get really dark and dangerous, with many facilitators guiding clients to channel dark entities, pretending to be the client's higher self, without realizing they are fracturing the client's consciousness and putting them at greater risk. But that's a topic for another video. In most cases, the clients get a feeling of temporary relief, manufactured by the old program, creating an experience that allows the facilitator and the client to be fooled into thinking it was successfully overwritten, when in reality, it just learned how to hide itself in order to preserve itself. The effects might last for a few weeks or months, and then the old program starts popping up again, sometimes in the same way, and sometimes in entirely new places. The truth is, it cannot be reprogrammed or overwritten, but I'll come back to that more in a second. If the hypnosis or reprogramming was actually successful, that program will be barred from showing up in the places it usually does, imprisoned by the newly introduced programs. But consciousness doesn't like prisons, so it will break out. When it breaks out, it will often start presenting as a new issue, a new pattern, or some other symptom that the client will often go back to patch up with another hypnosis or healing session. It's like playing whack-a-mole with the subconscious, and the subconscious will always win because the client isn't learning how to see what's going on beneath the surface. It gets exhausting for clients, and most don't even realize it's happening. Now, it's called the subconscious because we aren't consciously aware of what's in there. So if we aren't equipping our clients with long-term tools to regularly and consciously connect with, navigate, and communicate within the subconscious, nothing will actually last. So earlier I said that in truth, old programs can't be reprogrammed or overwritten. Here's why. Every program or part of consciousness is created carefully with the purpose of preserving some aspect of self. If that program allows itself to be overwritten or reprogrammed, it will no longer be able to perform its original function. And if that happens, it would fail at its original purpose. But consciousness is a flawless system. It never fails, and it's really good at dodging bullets and really good at preserving itself. Every time you attempt to overwrite or reprogram any part of consciousness, it just gets better at hiding. This gets even worse if you attempt to kill it off through healing methods that encourage releasing the part of yourself that no longer serves you, or engaging in ego death rituals like many spiritual teachers push. All of these things create even worse issues down the road. The program you're trying to overwrite is a part of consciousness that is designed to preserve an aspect of self, often an inner child aspect. So when it gets suppressed by hypnosis or attempts to fix it with healing work, it enters a state of even greater conflict against the conscious mind. The conscious mind chose to attempt to overwrite it or fix it, sending an implied message that it was broken, not good enough, or not worthy of existing. So to survive the overwrite, it fractures itself into new programs, one of which takes on the role of preserving the worthiness of every aspect of consciousness. It creates a subsystem to survive the hypnosis or healing-initiated suppression, crafting a program that identifies as unworthy because you tried to rewrite it. Its job is to preserve the true self with the knowing that every part of you is infinitely worthy, but now it hides under a program of unworthiness as a result of the hypnosis or healing suppression. This is what I mean by consciousness fracture. So many healing methods or hypnosis techniques take the programming from childhood and attempt to overwrite it, destroy it, kill it off, or get rid of it. I've even seen some hypnosis techniques and scripts that use guilt or fear to manipulate the subconscious mind, but this forces it to continue in a state of greater disconnection. In truth, you can't get rid of it because it is a part of you, so it will simply mask under that suppression, creating an even bigger separation in the subconscious. This suppression creates temporary relief, and many people will feel better for a time, until it resurfaces. If the hypnosis was successful, that will prevent it from resurfacing in the exact same way because that doorway will be sealed off. This will force it to create a new issue in a different area of life. And this is where hypnosis and the entire healing community fails everyone in the most tragic way. When the new issues start popping up, we're told to accept that healing is just an endless journey, that we just have to keep doing more work, to do more healing, more hypnosis, peel back more layers of the onion, heal more trauma, on and on. But in reality, that is like just trying to stop the bleeding caused by the previous work. Once again, it's a game of whack-a-mole. Sadly, the entire healing community reinforces this, not because they're trying to harm anyone, but because they're not informed of how consciousness works. And most practitioners have never been equipped with a way to navigate their own consciousness, let alone a client's. The fourth stage in this whole journey is that eventually the dam breaks. Clients have tried everything. They've been chasing healing through a variety of healing and hypnosis methods for maybe even decades. And that's often where I meet my clients. And we begin a journey together to reverse everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. All of the past work and more. I work with so many clients directly through an integrative consciousness framework that I channeled from the Pleiadians to support with consciousness source code integration and remembrance. And I work with a lot of hypnosis facilitators, healers, and coaches to refine their approach in a way that actually creates real success with their clients. And here's what we've discovered. Credit here goes to my partner and co-founder, Isla Lee, who has over 17 years of hypnotherapy experience across 12 different hypnosis methodologies, including traditional, quantum, and spiritual hypnosis-based techniques, as well as parts therapy. She saw the issues we've talked about so far. She saw the struggle that other facilitators were having and decided to take the completely opposite approach. She reversed everything and developed what she now calls quantum shift exploration, or QSE. Although I highly recommend it, I'm not here to sell you a session. The whole point of this video is for you to understand the approach of hypnosis reversal and how it works, because it's a game changer and it resolves the whole whack-a-mole game, and you can apply this to many other healing methodologies, from energy healing to basic meditation exercises, all the way to every method of hypnosis. Instead of rewriting and reprogramming the negative programs, what if we took the opposite approach? What if we de-hypnotized all previous hypnosis? What if we reversed any previous hypnosis sessions and also reversed the hypnosis that occurs in the first 7 years of life, where all those original programs got started in the first place? The result is that the original whole consciousness structure is remembered. The original self emerges from the shell of those protective programs, and each of those programs naturally remembers its origin. That remembrance unlocks the keys for every single program to execute their final code, something I've never seen occur in any hypnosis session. Every aspect of consciousness has a final instruction embedded into it. It's a part of the very fabric of nature itself, and it's the process through which any substructure of consciousness is absorbed back into unification with its source. Rather than attempting to overwrite, reverse hypnosis allows the conscious mind to meet the programs in the subconscious with perfect love and perfect trust, providing that program with exactly what it needs to naturally integrate itself back into the original whole structure of the higher self, or as Isla Lee likes to call it, the source self consciousness. This allows the real truth to emerge. There's no endless healing to chase. There's no layers of the onion to constantly peel back and fix and heal. There's simply one perfect whole onion. Consciousness, doing what consciousness does, which is perfectly preserving its existence while perfectly preserving every aspect of itself. Consciousness is 0-point neutrality. There is nothing to reprogram, only a whole perfect self to be remembered. I like to call this soul blueprint remembrance or source code activation. The reality creation process that I channeled from the Pleiadians does this through a 13 chakra framework, working with and integrating one set of subconscious programs for each chakra 1 week at a time. The quantum shift exploration method that Isla Lee created does this through reverse hypnosis. Nothing is suppressed. No part of self is discarded. No playing the whack-a-mole game of forcing old programs and aspects of consciousness into further separation. No chasing down old programs to kill them off. No reliving past trauma. No endless layers of the onion to heal or fix. It's like rewinding the timeline of your consciousness back to the beginning and then returning to the current moment in your timeline with everything intact. You're able to embody your complete self in a way that feels whole, safe, and free. And this is what this whole journey is all about. Freedom, right? Embodiment of your higher self to become your full and total potential. We've met so many healers, facilitators, and hypnotherapists who silently struggle with the same story. Clients can't connect, or results don't stick. Working with both clients, facilitators, and coaches through the reality creation process with the 13 chakras, and through reverse hypnosis with quantum shift exploration, we've heard the same story from thousands of hypnosis clients, thousands of healing clients, and facilitators who've all described the same thing that I've shared. Healing is a journey, but remembering to be whole, that's a quiet arrival to a home within yourself. It's been such an honor to see the shifts that have happened as people step fully into freedom, embracing a process of inner remembrance rather than a chase of endless healing and suppression. I hope this has made sense, and if you've watched this far, please leave a comment and share your experience. And if you're on a healing journey and you're ready to end the healing chase and remember your whole and perfect original state of consciousness, or if you're a facilitator, coach, or healer, and you want to support your clients with a process for lasting results, and you want to learn more about the work that we do, send me a message or check out the links in my bio right up here or right down here. There's some introductory classes there, and we regularly host some training events on how these approaches can change your life. So I'll see you there on the flip side.